Well everyone, it's finally here. 24 years after the first episode of the original series, and 15 years after the Sky reboot ended, Gladiators has finally returned to our TV screens. The 2024 BBC reboot aired its first episode on Saturday, January 13th, and I thought I'd take a little bit of time to give my first impressions of the new show. Gladiators fans like myself have been waiting for this moment for a long time, and it certainly didn't disappoint. Here are my first impressions of the new Gladiators. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched the show yet, check that out first. And if you like this sort of content, please subscribe to the channel. First and foremost, hearing that iconic theme tune again as the show started gave me some serious goosebumps. There are few TV shows that can boast such an epic intro song, and I'm so glad that they've retained that song for this new series. It really gets you pumped up for the action. And what about the arena? It looks fantastic. I was a little worried that the arena might be too small, but it's actually quite big. I really like what they've done with the lighting and pyrotechnics in the arena during some of the games, most notably the ring and duel. Visually, the show looks fantastic. It has that similar feel to the original series, something that the 2008 reboot wasn't able to capture, but at the same time it has that extra punch that brings it into the modern era. I thought Bradley and Barney Walsh did pretty well as hosts. Their presenting was on point, and during the interviews they kept things to a minimum and let us hear from the Contenders and Gladiators as much as possible. And I'll tell you what, Bradley Walsh likes a good dad joke, doesn't he? And here's something that I missed in my previous video. Bradley Walsh has actually competed on Gladiators. At the end of 1997, there was a special Celebrities vs. Jockeys episode of the show, and Bradley Walsh was one of the contenders for the celebrities. The first 4 contenders to take on the Gladiators were Miles, Finley, Kerry, and Tasha, all of whom did really well across the 5 events against the Gladiators. Finley in particular was great. Even after suffering an injury in Gauntlet, he came back out for Hang Tough raring to go and was able to overturn a 2.5 second head start for his opponent to win the Eliminator. An outstanding effort. We saw 5 events in this first episode, returning games Duel, Gauntlet, and Hang Tough, and 2 new games, The Ring and Collision. The first event was Duel, where we saw contender Finley take on Nitro, and contender Miles take on Giant. For the girls, Tasha took on Diamond, and Kerry took on Fire. Miles in particular didn't have a great time on this event, getting eliminated by Giant in just 1 second. It will be interesting to see which gladiator makes this their specialty, although I'm not sure if anyone will be able to match the power of the mighty Shadow in this event. The second event was Collision, which sees each contender take on 4 gladiators as they attempt to transport a ball from one side of the suspension bridge to the other, whilst avoiding the gladiators swinging in from the sides. At first, I wasn't so sure about this event and thought it might not be that entertaining or perhaps too easy for the contenders, but I was surprised how much I enjoyed this one. Not the strongest event, but an interesting test for the contenders nonetheless. The third event was The Ring, a great new game that sees the contenders attempt to hit a button in the middle of the ring whilst avoiding the gladiators who are trying to take them down. I feel like contenders will probably be able to do quite well on this event, as they tend to be smaller and probably more agile, but some of the new gladiators have backgrounds in rugby and American football, so it will certainly be a real physical test. The fourth event was another returning classic, Gauntlet. This game is identical to the original series and will certainly be tough for the contenders this time around. As mentioned earlier, Finley picked up an injury to his knee in this event, but was able to bounce back in the next event. And then, what would Gladiators be without Hang Tough? The overall size of the course is much smaller than on the original series, owing to the smaller arena used for filming, but it's still epic nonetheless. And what on earth was Miles doing? He expertly outmaneuvered Nitro to make it across to the other platform for 10 points, but why didn't he drop? Why did he go back? Answers on a postcard, please. And last but certainly not least, the Eliminator. I'm particularly pleased that they haven't made any drastic changes to the Eliminator course. There were only two real differences that I noticed. Firstly, the balancing beam towards the end is not straight and has a couple of corners the contenders have to negotiate. And the iconic Travelator has a small section at the bottom of the ramp that isn't moving, which might make it slightly easier to run up. Other than that, this is the same legendary Eliminator that we all remember. The perfect final test for the contenders. A big congratulations to Finlay and Carey for making it through to the quarterfinals. It was confirmed that among the losing contenders, the two fastest Eliminator times will also make it through to the quarterfinals. So we might be seeing Miles and Tasha again in the next round. Of the 16 new Gladiators, we got to see 14 of them in action. The only two missing from this episode were Comet and Bionic. Each of the Gladiators have their own unique entrance music, which I think is a nice touch, and it was interesting to see each of the Gladiators' personalities. It appears that Legend will be our new Wolf, as he gives off a staggering amount of arrogance, but I really liked Viper. It looks like he doesn't talk very much, but that death stare will certainly strike fear into the hearts of the contenders. While it would have been nice to have John Sachs back as commentator, Guy Mowbray did an excellent job. Certainly among football fans, his voice is iconic, and I think he is a good choice to man the commentary box on Gladiators. The referees also did well, and after watching this first episode, I think Mark Clattenburg is a great choice for head referee. His delivery is very reminiscent of John Anderson, but he fits the role well in my opinion. There isn't really a whole lot bad I can say about the new series of Gladiators. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But if I had to say one thing, it would have been great if the iconic theme tunes for the original events had returned. I absolutely loved the original theme songs for Duel, Hang Tough, and the Eliminator in particular, and I felt the music they used in the new series for these games was a little generic and unmemorable. But to be honest, this is such a small gripe that I'm happy to let it slip. Overall, I was really impressed with the new series. I think they've struck the perfect balance between emulating the original series and bringing the show into the 21st century. Had they emulated the show too much, it might not have as big of an appeal to a larger audience in this modern era. Had they strayed too far away from the original, it would likely face a similar fate to the 2008 Sky reboot. The show flowed well and progressed at a good pace, and it was nice to not have adverts every 10 minutes too. So my overall impressions are excellent, and I'm super excited to have the show back on TV. At the end of the first episode, we caught a glimpse of what's in store next week, and there were some images that made me particularly excited. Powerball and The Wall will be making their returns next week, two of the most iconic Gladiator events. One more new game, The Edge, will be played for the first time. This looks really interesting and I can't wait to see it. And new Gladiators Bionic and Comet will make their debuts. Gladiators will be airing every Saturday night at 5:50 PM on BBC One, so make sure you tune in to experience the action. Many thanks for watching everyone. If you're a Gladiators fan like me, I'm sure you are over the moon to have it back on TV. Let me know down in the comments what you enjoyed the most from the first episode and what you're looking forward to seeing as the series progresses. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, it would mean the world if you could, and give this video a little thumbs up while you're down there. Thanks everyone, and see you all in the next video.